Hmm?
Now, where do we look?
Well, you
Here?
can look at me or the camera. Yeah, you're fine, honey.
Or
You're
right
fine.
there, Mom.
Or where?
Hello, I'm Carolyn Beislein, and I'm representing the Central Florida Society for Historic Preservation. Here with me today is another member of our society, Marla Picklesheimer, and we're interviewing Gladys Piloian and her daughter Sarah Girard. Welcome, Gladys and Sarah.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you letting us come into your home, Gladys, to talk about your years here in Longwood. I'm going to start with Sarah first for a few minutes. Sarah, we know that you and your husband Alan live in the house next door here on Church Avenue, which once was the home of the Circes. Mrs. Circe, lived there until what year? Do you remember when she passed away?
I think she probably passed away around 85.
Around 85, okay.
Something
And
like
so,
that.
do you remember then approximately when you moved in to the house then after that? And a lot of repairs need to be done and made.
1988 we moved in.
Say it so we can
1988.
1988, thank you. I remember that house was in pretty bad shape and that your dad probably didn't realize how bad it was until he started undertaking such a job.
I think that's a mistake. He did realize,
He did.
and I didn't realize.
Oh, you were the one. You didn't realize.
Yeah.
Okay, so he
It
went ahead
was
and.
not his fault.
Okay, but it's such a pretty big old house, and it's so nice now since you had it all redone. And I know Sarah loves living there. She's told me before once about how she liked it so much, and it's so pretty inside. She's fixed it up so nicely. Well, I wanted to get those dates and mention that your father had purchased that house and renovated it, and I remember that was quite an undertaking.
It sure was.
And you now have a photography business there called Magnolia Acres, right? And that makes your home there. You make your home there as well, and it's the business there. So I wanted to know when that house was built, if you knew that. Did you know when that house was built?
In 1888.
1888?
Right, 1888.
I don't hear so well sometimes, so I have to, ask you questions and then make sure I not only get it down, but that I hear you right. Thank you. 1888. One of Berta Circe's sons lives across the street, Charlie. He still lives over there,
Yes, he does.
and we have talked with him too about his growing up in Longwood also. But he would tell me stories, or us, about his little things he did with his buddies and his bicycle and the pranks they pulled on other people when he was a boy. And he really didn't give us a lot of information about the history of the city or the town or the house or his mother. He didn't really get into that very much. But we know that she was a member of the Episcopal Church and played the organ there for years.
Went every
and was
Saturday afternoon
Very social.
to practice.
Uh-huh. She practiced every afternoon?
Every Saturday afternoon.
Oh, every Saturday afternoon she practiced the piano or the organ?
The organ.
Organ?
Every Saturday afternoon.
At her home or at the church?
No, at the church.
At the church,
She went and got
which is
her.
up in Longwood in the historic district.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very old church and very beautiful inside. I've been there to attend meetings, but not a member there, but I know that it is a pretty place. Very old. Now I want to talk with you, Gladys, a little bit. Your maiden name was Griffin,
Yes.
and you lived in Lake Mary.
Griffin.
Griffin?
Uh-huh.
And you lived in Lake Mary, I believe. Were you born there? Did you grow up there?
No, I was born at 1118 French Avenue.
And
Sanford.
Sanford?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize you were from Sanford originally.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And 1118
Uh-huh.
French.
French Avenue.
It is one of the thoroughfares that they have now. They're one of the throughways, you might say, one of the big streets, main streets
Yeah,
there.
right there
French.
by where the old red barn is now. I
Oh,
guess.
really? Where the old barn is? Oh, yes. Okay.
And we were on the other side.
There were houses then, just
They
homes.
finally tore the house down.
Okay. And now it's all business and commercial and industrialized up and down all French.
Uh-huh. It
How
is.
things change, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's shards and different ones like
And
that.
so, but you are a Florida native then, and I
across the
thought
street
so.
from us.
Huh?
I said there was shards and different ones like that lived across the street from us
Yeah.
on French Avenue.
Okay. Well, that's interesting to know because my husband was a native, as was his brother and their mother, Mrs. Beislein, natives of Florida. And we don't see very many Florida natives anymore, so I wanted to have that put in here that you actually were from Florida originally.
Yeah.
And how did you meet Bill then?
Well, you know how everybody went out to Lake
San Lando Springs?
Lake Mary,
Oh.
to Evansdale.
Oh, and
Do you
Lake
remember
Mary.
Evansdale?
Yes, named
And
after
Lake
Mr.
Mary?
Evans. Yes.
Yeah. And they were the Evans were very good friends.
I
of
thought
ours.
you were going to say the Springs because so many people say that's where
Well,
they went for everything. And I wasn't thinking
No,
about
I
that.
went to it was Lake Mary, but we lived in Sanford until I was through the 4th grade. I graduated from the 4th grade at
You want to sit down? Well, that's the 4th grade, and then you moved.
at Southside Elementary. And then we moved from there for just a little while during the wartime. We moved to Brunswick, Georgia, and Daddy and my brothers worked in the war. The shipyards. And
Building ships because of the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we moved back, and we moved to Lake Mary,
Okay.
and we were there for through the 8th grade, and I started the 9th grade in Sanford, riding the bus, you know, from Longwood, from Lake Mary, and then after that we moved to Longwood,
Okay.
and that's when I went to.
Did you meet Bill at that lake that
I
you were
met-
talking about at some
I
of those
met, yes.
social?
I was about 12, I guess, 10 or 12, and he was about 15, maybe maybe something like on that order. And they would go up. He wasn't that old, and I wasn't that old. I was about 10, and he was about
Long time romance
12
there.
or 13. And he would go up on the high tower. You know, they had a high tower out at the lake, and he would go way up there, and they would dive off.
Oh, so wonder he didn't break his
And
neck.
we just would, you know, waiting for him to come up safely. You know, there was a few of them. I think Johnny did the same thing, his brother, and some others that would come, and naturally they came on Saturdays, and we were going to be out there when they came. He was so cute, and
Showing off a little bit,
Yeah.
I think. Showing
and,
off a little bit.
yeah, and so they'd hop out of the back of their daddy's truck, and away they did for the lake, down the dock, and up the steps to the thing. And anyway, that's he didn't know me, but I knew who he was, and he saw us, you know, and showed off for us. But that's how long I've known him since then. That's been I knew him about.
Now, he lived in Oviedo
He lived in Wagner.
and Wagner, which is
and it's-
where they had all the vegetable farms,
Yeah,
which is no longer in existence, you might say. It's
Yeah.
just a curve there now, and
Yeah,
people don't know that was all
not
vegetable
where
farms.
the bus garage was.
Uh-huh.
Is now,
Yeah.
and all those.
But they had
houses
those
next
beautiful
to it.
big Vidalia onions and all those
Yeah.
nice farms out there, and that family
Yeah.
carried on for a lot of years of that big farm that I know he spoke about so many times.
Yeah, and then they had Piloian farms in Oviedo, big, and cabbage and onions, and he was the king of the onions. He was the onion king of the South. And
I know it was a big enterprise, a really
It
big
was.
business. Big farm.
Yeah, it was. And he was also the cabbage king.
I can remember going around that corner, and there was a sign there that said Piloian Farms. I can remember that.
And
Now that was a lot of years ago.
and you could smell the onions.
Yes. Nice, sweet onions.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you and Bill met. So did you continue to see
later-
each other then?
No, I went on to, we moved from Lake Mary. I lived at Lake Mary at that time. And we moved to Longwood. And he of course, still lived in
Oviedo.
Oviedo. And I took my mother out to visit Mr. What was his name? Anyway, he was an old-time friend of ours, and Billy, it was on Billy's farms out here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
On the river out there, and
He had some farms down here too.
I didn't realize you had farms down here now on the
he
river.
He bought the Jackson farm down there.
Oh, the Jacksons.
Yeah, he bought it from them.
I didn't ever know about that.
Yeah, he owned, I think there was 30 acres down there.
Okay.
It's beautiful property, man. Anyway, so I had taken my mother out to visit. She said this one afternoon, she says, Gladys, she says, let's go out and visit Mr. Delk. And he lived in Daddy's, in Billy's, he had a shed there, and they had, he'd also turned it into a house for Mr. Delk.
Was it D-E-L-K? Is that the way?
D-E-L-K, Mr. Delk.
Delk. Mr. Delk, okay.
Yeah, and he lived in it, and kind of, he thought he was the overseer for it, so that was fine. It gave him a place to live, and so this particular afternoon, my mother and I, we were there visiting with Mr. Delk, and here comes this truck, empty, and he had all kinds of tools and things on it. But he'd come to pick up his crew. There was a crew. There was a big bell pepper field out behind, out past Mr. Delk's house, and he had a crew out there that were working. They were hoeing around the pepper plants. And anyway, Billy came in, and he parked. He came in and he backed the truck up and parked it, and he got out, and he came up where we were, and he started talking to Mr. Delk, and then Mr. Delk invited, he
invited them in anyway.
Yeah, he introduced me again,
Uh-huh.
and we sat. Mom and I were sitting there, and he was standing up against a post, and Mother looked down there, and she says, after a while, all the people came in from the field, and they had put their tools away and got up in the truck, and they were all sitting there watching, looking, and looking, and you'd see them looking through the bars where they could see better. They were moving around, and
well, you just remember all these details, and that was a long time ago.
Anyway, Billy kind of, my mother was looking over there, and Billy turned around and looked. And he said, "Oh my goodness, they're all waiting for me to go take them home." So I guess this was about an hour or so later, and he had come to pick them, and they would expected to come home as soon as he drove up there, because they'd left the field, and they'd been sitting in the back of the truck, and so they were sitting there watching him. But anyway, when he left, he apologized that he had that he had to leave us, and so we said, well, we hope we'll see you again. And he went on, and as they drove by, everybody in the truck was watching, looking at us, over real good.
This was a moment. This was a big moment.
Yeah.
Yes, a very special time. Well, that is really a nice story.
And so I told Mr. Delk, I said, Mr. Delk, I'm going to leave you my address and phone number. But I said, I don't want you to give it to him unless he comes and asks you for it.
Oh, okay.
I said, I don't want you to, don't give it to him unless he asks you for it. Because that's, that way I knew he'd be interested. So anyhow, Mr. Delk told us later, he said, that man didn't hardly have time to get home before he came back. He said he came back and he wanted to know, Mr. Delk, do you have any idea where they live and does she have a phone number? And he got it out.
Oh my goodness,
and,
Gladys.
And do you know, he called me that night.
Oh.
And
that's how it got started.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great story, Gladys. Thank you for letting us know about that.
And that's how. And then we looked around long. Lou Arnold. Billy knew.
Yes,
Lou
I
Arnold.
Remember Lou Arnold.
Everybody knew Lou Arnold.
Yes.
And so Lou Arnold told him. He said, "I have some places." Billy was telling him
he was in real estate, is why you had places. Yeah, real estate.
And we're going to get married, and he says, but we're going to need a house. We're going to need a place to stay. And he didn't want to go to Oviedo because they were working over here. And so Mr. Arnold showed him several places. And then this was an old house.
This was a house already here.
Yeah.
You didn't build it.
No.
I didn't remember. I couldn't remember that.
No, it was an old house. It was a wooden house, but it was a nice house. And so Billy couldn't understand why, I chose this house. But that lake out there, we'd gone swimming all our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And that lake was what sold me.
That was what sold you on this place.
Yeah, because
I don't doubt
I knew
it. Beautiful.
that we could swim every day in that lake. And my children, my family, my brothers and sisters would love it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would, and Billy would too. So,
so that's what sold you on this place.
That's what sold me on this place.
And you bought the house.
And we bought the house.
I always wondered about that. I thought he built it. I didn't remember.
No, it was a 2-story house.
Probably the first time I met you was when we were at a Farm Bureau dinner.
Uh-huh.
And, Sarah had little Suzanne in her arms. She was just a baby.
Oh.
And you introduced me to her.
Uh-huh.
And we were sitting together, as we often did ever since then.
Yeah.
For our dinners once a year. And had a nice dinner together. The Farm Bureau serves a free meal once a year to all their customers, clients. And that's something we're going to miss now. I already miss it. I miss it bad. And of course, Fred and Bill were on the board.
For 40
Farm
years.
Bureau directors for 40 years or so, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And very active in the Farm Bureau and good friends.
Yeah.
So, I was wondering then about the Griffins over in Lake Mary. I wanted to ask you, when I go by there, I used to go quite often because our twins were at the preschool over there on Sun Drive at the church over there.
You had twins?
Well, my daughter does, Janie.
Oh, her
you remember?
twins.
Yeah.
And
we were over there. I would go over there quite often for programs and things, and I would always see all this farm equipment out on the corner there.
Yeah.
The opposite
Frank.
across the street. Now that is
That's my brother.
That's your brother.
My oldest.
Frank and Lillian.
Frank and Lillian.
And how's Lillian doing?
She's in a nursing home.
She is. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. Well, I was just curious about that because they still have that farm. They still have that acreage and cattle out there, moving about when I go by there. And
Yeah,
I'm
Billy
surprised
and
with
I
all
own-
the building on Lake Mary Boulevard. It surprises me that they're still there with their original home and everything there.
Well, she wouldn't, you know, she and I bought a part of it. I sold, when I, you know, I was a broker for a while.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was a real estate broker with Billy. And I bought a piece of property down on 434. And I wanted to buy it, and I didn't have the money.
Yeah.
I didn't
None
have
of
enough.
us did. None of us could
And
buy
Billy
things. So
had
I'm
bought, Billy and Earl Showers and someone else had gone in with them, and they bought the piece next to it. And I said, well, Billy, I'd like to have the other part. He says, well, find somebody to help you. So I talked all day to Lillian, and I made her every kind of promise in the world if she would just buy it with me.
Who is this?
Me,
You, I mean, with whom else?
Lillian.
Lillian Griffin. Okay, I
Yeah,
got you
Lillian
now.
Griffin.
All right, yes.
Okay. And she finally agreed, because I promised her I would, you know, she'd have her money right back if she wanted it.
So do you still have a part ownership in that property then over there?
Well, I sold this piece of property that I talked her into buying with me. I sold it in a while, and we made quite a little bit of money on that. And when then later, this piece of property came available, and Lillian, I guess just because I had called her on this, she just out of, I don't know, just generosity maybe, she called me and asked me if I wanted to buy in with her on that.
Mm-hmm.
Next to their property.
Next to their property. Now that didn't make sense, but I said, sure. Of course, because the price was right, and we both had made a lot of money on
Well,
her.
you did the right thing. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
that was
I know.
good investment.
So I said, sure. And so we paid for it outright, both of us, you know.
Yeah.
And then we put the cows on there, and so it's agriculture. And
Yeah, it's less taxable, lower taxes that
lower
way,
taxes,
but it's
yeah.
considered agriculture.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm glad to hear about that because I always wonder when I go by there all the time.
But she never would let us sell it.
Oh,
That
so you
portion.
still?
We still own it,
Okay. I'm just curious.
and we will until, I guess they'll probably have to sell it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told her, I said, because we've had
Now that's Frank and Lillian you're talking about.
Frank and
he's
Lillian. He's my brother,
brother,
my oldest
yeah.
brother.
Okay, I got you now. At one time I thought the people who lived there were your parents, and I thought that couldn't be right, and I wondered how they kept it going, and then someone told me that was your brother.
Uh-huh.
You have any other brothers or sisters? You mentioned some
Well,
earlier.
say I just lost one about 4 months ago. A year ago? Has it been a year?
There was 10 brothers and sisters.
Uh-huh.
How many?
10.
10.
10
And
of us.
3 have died.
And three
3 have died.
3 of my
Everybody
brothers
used to have such
died.
big families. I
I
know, it's
know.
hard to realize.
3 of my
10
10,
children.
My Frank is the oldest, and then the two that were next to him, between him and me, they died.
Okay.
Frank, that was George and Earl, and then there's Jimmy is next. No, Sonny is next to me, under me, and then Carolyn, and then there's Jimmy is next. And then Donnie was the next one, and he just died.
Yeah, okay. Well,
And then Alice
Frank
and
is
Libby.
still living, and he was the oldest.
Yes,
Yes.
and he was the oldest.
How is he now?
He's 80.
80? Okay.
Wait a minute.
He'd be older than 80 if he's the oldest, probably.
He is. Wait a minute, because he's 7 years older than me.
So there's still some history over there in Lake Mary.
Yeah.
And we're getting a group together people from Lake Mary and from Geneva and Longwood and around all of it and everywhere, trying to get us all back together again like we used to when we had what we called a consortium or a consortium. We're going to try to redo that again. Hopefully start that again so we can exchange ideas and see each other's places. And we're going to be trying to revive the history of the area, Central Florida history, not including Orlando.
Yeah, well.
If we can help it. So we're going to be trying to do for Seminole County, in other words. Okay, I wanted to ask you about your schools. You mentioned which schools you went to.
Okay, first I went, when I started school, you know, we didn't go to kindergarten.
No.
And so I went to Southside
Yes.
Primary in
Which is in Sanford. And now converted to something else.
Oh, is it?
Isn't it now?
Museum.
Another building of some sort. I mean, another.
It's a museum.
A museum,
it's a museum.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, okay. And then that was the first through the fourth. And then for just a little while, we went to Brunswick, you know, to the shipyard. He worked in the shipyard. And I went to the N.H. Ballard school. It was, and I was in the 5th grade there. And for a while. And then we came back, we moved back, and we moved to Lake Mary. And I went to Lake Mary just Lake Mary School.
Now, Lake Mary School was an old school. And I taught 1 year there, which was...
It was in 1925, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was built about 1925, and they talk about it being torn down, and I remember that when they tore it down, because I taught there a year before that. And now they're going to redo it, or they have rebuilt it, most of it, and they're talking about doing some more, adding to it or something or other today. And it's a nice area in there. It's all changed and grown up and different now. But no, we didn't have kindergartens in those days. But we did have 1st through 12th, excuse me. And we only had 3 high schools. Oviedo, Sanford, which is Seminole now.
And the people that lived in Lake Mary, they went to Sanford. You rode on
had to ride the bus. Yeah.
And the people from way out at Forest City, in that area, they went to Lyman.
Yes.
And then the other, Oviedo, like Billy lived in Wagner, and he went to Oviedo.
So he
rode the bus to Oviedo.
He had a sister Lucy, he had a brother John, and they all went to Oviedo, didn't they?
Had a sister Sarah too.
Sister, oh, that's right. And so did Lucy
Ina.
go to Lyman, or did Lucy go somewhere? I had
They went
Lucy
to
at Lyman.
Oviedo.
She went to Oviedo as well.
But she taught at Lyman.
Oh, she taught at Lyman. That's why.
Yeah.
So when she came later on to Lyman, I was thinking about her having been there, and that was because she
that
taught
was
there.
why. She
was Bill's sister.
A teacher.
Billy's sister. And of course, we know Lucy married
Bud Lair.
Bud Lair, who was superintendent of schools for a while there.
He came there as coach.
Now deceased, yes. At Oviedo?
No, at Sanford.
At Sanford.
Oh,
that's
where
right.
they met.
That's
He was
where
a
they
coach.
met.
Do you remember any of this? Is Sarah some of this familiar to you?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. Mostly hearing the
Before you,
stories.
yeah, hearing the stories.
Yeah.
And I was going to get back to you too in a few minutes. Again, I'm trying to include you both because you both have history here. I wanted to. I think probably Gladys just told us a lot about her childhood in talking about meeting Bill, and I was going to ask her about that, and I have that on my list here. And then I think we mentioned the Farm Bureau. So I want to skip over some of that, some of my notes here, and then come down to the Women's Club building, which we, had the Women's Club and the library, Civic League, and all was in there in that building. And you were president at one time.
For a long time, for a lot of years.
Remember when you were president? What years those were? I have the little yearbooks.
Do you?
All the little yearbooks every
You
year.
have them?
I have all those yearbooks.
Was it in the late 70s?
You remember what years
early
it was?
80s?
I think so.
Because I
think
remember
so.
when Suzanne was born. She
Yeah,
was born in
because-
81.
Okay.
And I remember
That's a good way to
went-
remember it.
Yeah,
then.
and we
Mom
used to-
was officer then.
Okay, she was president
I
then.
think so, yeah.
And
So
then
it
you
was
served
that
several
time.
terms?
Yes.
Yeah, more than once. You were president.
And one year I was nominated from Longwood to be Woman of the Year.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. I didn't know that.
Seminole County.
How did I miss that? I must have forgotten. I don't. You know, when I came here, Mrs. Beislein was, of course, adamant that I join the Women's Club because she was a charter member,
Oh,
and her mother, Mrs. Niemeyer,
uh-huh.
they were both charter members. So it was automatic that when I married Fred, I had to join the Women's Club.
When did you
There's no
come
question
here?
about that. Well, I was just trying to think of the other day. It's really not
Where did he
up to
meet
me
you,
to talk
at
about
school?
my life. It's your lifetime that we want to talk about. It's around 51.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. And, but I do recall that we had a lot of good days and times together with the Women's Club and all the other families in Longwood who came to the Old Timers reunion. Remember how we used to have Old Timers get-togethers?
Yeah, that was
And
nice.
I would like to do that sometime again. I wish I could try to get people to help me enough to build it up. And I recently did a oral history like we're doing today with Nan Freeman.
Yes.
And they come over quite often from the beach. They live at New Smyrna Beach now.
Yeah.
And she comes over on occasion to visit Jean, who's...
Bothell.
Yeah, Jean Bothell. And so we met at his house.
How about, excuse me.
Lib is in a nursing home now, too. She has dementia.
Yeah.
And so we met and talked with him and did a couple of videos of him and then
How is he doing?
Lib. He's fine. He's 96
He's
now, I
amazing,
think it is.
isn't he?
Yeah, it's amazing. He still drives.
He
and
still drives?
does his own shopping.
Lip
and
said.
So it's been a really wonderful thing to be able to do this because I'm enjoying getting to see everybody again, and getting back and talking like this. And I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you today. I think we're going to soon be out of time. We're going to have to stop talking, and I hate it because I'm enjoying it so very much.
Well, if you had anything to say
Half
to
hour?
Sarah.
Okay. I want to get back to Sarah. Yeah, I had said I would. Sarah, you grew up in Longwood, if I remember right.
Yes.
It's very hard for me because I didn't really know actually your parents until a little bit later, as I said. And so I wanted to know a little bit about your childhood. And you moved away for a while after you first married. And I can't remember if you went to school here and grew up here and then married and moved away for a while. How that went. I wanted to know what you had.
Well, I grew up here and went to school here.
Yeah.
And then
Okay. Did you go to
I went to Longwood Elementary.
Longwood Elementary?
And then
Okay.
South Seminole. It was
Yeah,
South Seminole
all right.
Junior High.
That's what my children did.
And
Okay.
Lyman High School.
Yes. Okay.
And then I graduated from the University of South Florida.
Yeah. All right. Now I think I remember that. Okay.
And when I married John Kachegian. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Suzanne's father, and we moved to New York
Yeah. And you lived there for a while, and then
and
came
then
back to
Suzanne
Florida.
And I came back.
and
Yes.
lived here ever since.
Yes.
And so, how did you and Alan meet? I'm not sure I ever really knew how you got together with Alan.
Well, I'm a professional
You were already into photography?
Yes, and he was the manager of International Camera.
Okay, I
and
knew
that
you
was
worked
how
at the camera shop.
Yeah, that's how
That
I
in
met him.
Orlando?
It's in Castleberry. Well,
Castleberry?
it's not there anymore. It's
It was in
closed.
Castleberry.
Right.
Okay, international. All right. And so that's how you met him?
Uh-huh.
All right, that's nice.
Yeah.
And you had a wedding here then? You got married here in Longwood?
At my house.
Okay.
Right. We
All
got it
right.
married out in the
I
garden.
vaguely remember when you got married,
Yeah.
and that everybody loves hearing him talk because he's from France.
Yeah.
And I like listen to him, hearing him talk. And he spells it
A-I-N.
A-I-N instead of A-L-L, as you would might think, Alan. But he's a very nice man, and I'm happy for you. How long have you been married now?
Well, December will be 15 years.
15 years. I pretty much had it about right on that one anyway. And Suzanne is your child, adorable, sweet little Suzanne, my best little friend when I had her in school, in preschool. And they're now living, she and her husband are where?
In Lake Mary.
In Lake Mary. I get Christmas cards from her, which excites me so much to get that, to hear from Suzanne. I love hearing from my former students, as all teachers do.
She was such a cute
And
person.
especially her. She was one of my favorites, a sweet little girl. We had some fun times together, and I wanted to know if there's anything else you could tell me about when you got the house. You told me that already, when your dad arranged for you to live over there in the big house. And then that anything else you can bring up that you would like to tell us, like Gladys did, or Any little stories or anything you can tell us?
Well,
Anecdotes of any kind?
I'm going to tell you a little something. When we bought that house, Sarah and I plastered that place.
You did?
We plastered it.
You did it yourself?
Yes, and
Bless
Billy,
your heart.
Billy and them, they tore the porches, so everything had to be stripped down, and then we had to go back and build them back.
Did it have termites in it?
It had everything.
We had
everything.
A tent.
We had
Everything.
to put a tent over it, and it had rats like this.
Oh,
goodness.
Goodness.
Well,
We don't have 'em
I
in-
don't know if they were that
That
big,
big.
but they were big.
And it was Nancy said it used to sound like they were having football games upstairs, up in the attic. And
You might have some squirrels up there too, because
yeah.
sometimes that happens with older
Uh-huh,
houses.
yeah.
You get squirrels in the attic.
But once we had it tented, and then we got spray people and
Yeah,
got termite
yeah.
people and stuff
I
like that.
thought I was right about that. I sort of remembered that.
Yeah.
And it's such a pretty big old place. Well, Sarah, did you do all your own decorating then and everything that you
Uh-huh.
have now in your house, and all you and your mother do all that?
Yes,
Yes.
we
And Gladys is
wallpapered
so
and
creative because she used to paint. You used to paint, didn't you?
Yes,
You used to be
Oh,
a painter.
always paintings
Oh,
that are
all
around-
these lovely
paintings that
pictures
are
up here. I know. I remember that. I
that
used
one
to see
there,
those.
but and all down the hall.
I took up painting too for a little while, but I had to let it go when I got sick and had the surgery on my knee. So I'm going to try to get back to that sometime if I can. But since you have trouble seeing, you probably don't want to try painting.
Well,
Some people do it anyway, even when they.
I can't see enough to see.
Yeah, it'd be too much for you to
I
try.
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, but I
Because I
think you
can't
enjoyed
see
it, didn't you? And you
colors.
did a good job. You were good at it.
I love to paint.
Yeah. Do you have any
Yes.
other hobbies or any other activities in the community that, besides the Women's Club and the Farm Bureau that we've talked about? Anything else you belong? Your church. You were very strong
I
in
love
your
the
church.
church, yes.
Baptist church, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, and they help in the kitchen a lot of times.
Now, Billy, it was a family of Armenians,
Uh-huh.
and did Bill join the church with you? Was
Sure.
he Baptist? Yeah, I thought they were.
Yeah, he did.
He was.
Uh-huh.
But their background was not, they probably never, did they ever join the church or were
The
active
other-
in
the
any other
family?
churches?
They were Armenians. They were apostolic. They were church members.
Uh-huh.
It's like a Catholic church.
Oh, it's like a Catholic
similar
church?
and
Similar to that, okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think
But
I've
they were
some idea what they.
Do you know when his family came here?
Yes,
Tell us
From-
about that.
where Billy's family came from.
Mhm. And when they came and
They
so on?
came from Armenia, and they came in. I believe he came in 1915, the second time.
Is that near Turkey or part of Turkey?
Yes, it's part of Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He and his brother
1915.
Most
Yeah.
likely
They came
were
to New York.
refugees, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
they came to New York and they worked
would-
up there and they saved enough money to bring my grandmother from Cuba. She had come on a boat to Cuba, and so they came on a train from New York down to Tampa to meet the boat that Grandma came on from Cuba. And when they got on the train
Well, I didn't know that.
to go back to New York, and when the
was
train
cold
stopped
up there.
in Longwood,
Mhm.
and
I know
When we
the train
had the
used to
old
stop in
trestle
Longwood,
over
I
there.
know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
We had the old railroad thing over there.
Yeah,
so-
Railroad Depot was over there
Yeah, the
when I
depot,
came here.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Granddaddy got out and he asked the man there, "Is the weather always like this?"
Because it was so cold in Binghamton.
Oh,
That was where they were living, and the man says, "It's always like this." And so they got off.
They
and
decided they'd stay.
Went to the
Yeah.
hotel and decided to stay.
Oh my goodness.
Granddaddy and my grandmother
They went
and
over
his
to
brother,
the Riders.
his
You
brother.
remember that
and-
big old house?
Oh
they
yes, the Riders had a big house.
had? Yeah, and so they rented some rooms,
Uh-huh.
and so Granddaddy sent for his brother. He told him we're not coming back up there, so bring
I
our
thought
things.
he was with them.
No, Uncle wasn't.
Oh, I thought
Did
he was with them.
did they have a ticket or tickets to get back, and they just gave up on their they didn't mind that they had already paid for their tickets,
Yeah,
and
they just that
that's
was as far as
decided they were
went.
going to stay in Florida
Yeah.
anyway.
And Uncle was still working. Granddaddy came, but because it cost too much for two tickets.
But wasn't Uncle's wife on the boat too with Grandma?
Yeah, So, but that was Uncle,
So
Granddaddy.
Granddaddy had Uncle's wife
Yeah,
and
he had-
Grandma.
How did
Okay.
Grandma come from Cuba? And I didn't
And he
understand
also
that part
had
of it.
Uncle George's wife.
She came
She
from.
is she cute? Was she Cuban?
No.
No,
Oh,
no,
she was
she's
there.
from Armenia,
But
but
they-
she
but
came.
she got
she
there
came.
instead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she had been staying with a Turkish family.
Okay.
And then she went to Marseille, didn't she?
Who?
Grandma. She went to Marseille. A bunch of Armenians did.
Well, there was a really bad time there in Turkey
Yeah.
with the Armenians and
Yeah,
persecution
they were
of the
killing 'em.
Armenians. Yeah.
They were-
Yeah,
they
they
were
had to
killing
get
them.
away.
They were getting away any way they
And
could.
They had to leave.
Yeah,
So
that
they
was-
left,
and
but
Billy's-
they left separately from Granddaddy and Uncle, and
Yeah.
and they
This was
Granddaddy
later.
came here, and they came when they left. They came to Cuba instead.
They wouldn't let, when they left Armenia, and they wouldn't let them come to the United States.
right.
The latter, but anyway, and
So that's how she got to Cuba.
yeah,
Huh.
because they made her go that way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that is so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is some
But
story.
you know what
Make a
was so
movie,
terrible
wouldn't it?
though?
That would make
No,
a nice.
Is-
that would make
is
a movie.
they-
It was a really, really bad time for
Yeah.
Armenians.
It
in
was
Turkey.
because Billy's family, his grandmother and grandfather and his little brother and his a bunch of the relatives, they just stood him up in front of his mother, and they
Shot 'em.
killed them all.
Oh, how
Yeah,
awful.
it was a kind of like
An
the Jews
upsurge or
in Germany.
yeah, kind of the same idea
Yeah,
of the Jewish
it's just
people
not
with
very
the
well
Germans.
known, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about the Holocaust all the time,
Yeah.
but
Well, it was
you
a
don't really
Holocaust.
hear about this in
This
Turkey
was
that
terrible,
much.
terrible.
It was a Holocaust.
It
There
was a
a
Holocaust.
time
It was
and
another-
place.
And you know, even Jimmy was going to, he was in the Air Force, and they were sending him to Armenia, not to
Turkey.
Armenia, but to Turkey, to the Air Force, to the base over there. And they said when they changed his station, because when they saw the Piloian, that would give the Turks, if they wanted to, they could kill him.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
would see that name
They
and know it
would
was
see that,
Armenian.
they would know he's Armenian and kill him.
Because
so
almost
they
all
moved
Armenian names give with IAN, don't
Yes,
they
yeah.
do.
mhm.
they?
Mhm.
So they-
Kevorkian, Armenian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you almost always can identify.
So they sent him to Fields there, California instead, and then
He was lucky.
yes,
Yes.
He was lucky because he.
yes.
Did the family still own land around here?
Well, we just own the one at Lake Mary, and we just own our houses.
Your
Yeah,
husband's
so-
family doesn't? No. They
No.
sold it all?
And we sold it all.
Well, I thank you so much, both of you, for your time, and it's been so interesting.
Anyway, Billy and I have 4 children.
Anything else you can tell us? I want to hear it.
We have 4 children. We have Sarah's the oldest. Billy is a year younger.
Sandy,
Jimmy is
Jimmy.
2 years younger, and then Sandy
I always
is
wanted to say Lee.
3.5.
Where did
Well,
I
she's-
get Lee? Remember?
He's our cousin.
He's their cousin.
Oh,
He's
your
Uncle
cousin?
Johnny's, Uncle
Yeah.
Johnny's youngest son.
Oh, John and Carlene's?
Yeah.
Okay, I
And
knew
then-
there was a Lee, but I couldn't get it
Yeah.
straight. I'm sorry.
And then we have 5 grandchildren. We have 4 granddaughters, and 1
And
grandson.
such beautiful children. They are so pretty, aren't they?
And
All your
then we
grandchildren.
have 4 great-grandchildren.
Oh, my goodness.
And they were here this morning.
Oh, they were. I didn't realize you had somebody here this morning. You'll be worn out by the
They
time
were
we
so
leave.
cute.
Well,
They
it's
are.
so good, though, but I don't have any grandchildren yet, Gladys.
Well,
Get busy here. Get my grandchildren busy.
you don't have any grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren.
I mean, that's what I meant
Oh,
to say.
well, yours have got to grow a little bit,
Well,
haven't they?
yeah, the Janie's, because she came
That's
along
right,
late,
that's
in the
right.
family, so she's
But
still
your
young.
others have,
Her children are
they
young.
have grown-up children.
Yeah, I have 2 older granddaughters. My
Uh-huh.
Francie, our daughter,
Yeah.
she and her husband have 2 daughters, and
Yeah.
They're married, but they don't have any children. They're all
Uh-huh.
career-oriented, shall we
Yeah.
say.
Well, enjoy what you
And
got.
our boys
Wally.
are the same way. They don't have any either. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what we always, like Billy said to, to Gregory. He says, well, son, he says, you need to get married and have a boy. At least let's carry the Piloian
Keep the
name
name.
along.
Yeah.
Because
the only
none
boy.
of Johnny's kids want. None of them want kids.
Well, that's the thing nowadays. You know, a lot of families.
And that's on the
don't wanna-
boys,
Yeah.
that could carry the Piloian
Well, that's
name.
the way it is with us. We won't be having any bicelines. There's one up in Pennsylvania. Larry.
One
Well, we
Biceline?
have
We have
some
one.
in California.
Is it a she?
You
We have
do?
cousins in California.
A
that
cousin
are
in
Piloians.
California. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it will be carried on. Maybe the name.
Yeah,
will be
we
carried-
do have some because I brought them here.
Yeah.
That George does he have a son though?
Yeah,
He's,
he
I know
has
he's
a son.
got two
He
daughters.
has a son. Uh-huh.
Well, I didn't know about all this about all your family like that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, Billy's father, I used to write letters to Armenia. I wrote to the folks for him. I couldn't write Armenian, but they could get it translated.
Oh, they could. Okay. Yeah.
And so I
Oh.
used to write letters for him.
I think that's good that you did that.
for
Kept
years
in touch.
and years and years. And before they wanted to come to America so bad, and so we were working at it, and trying to everything we knew, and finally we started getting involved with the legislature, and the different ones like that.
Oh.
And that's how we finally, but I worked
It was
with
hard
them.
then because it was still the Soviet Union,
Oh.
of course,
And
Oh.
I had a hard time. And everybody, all the family told me, why don't you just give up? And I said, well, I promised Granddaddy I'd do the best I could. And I haven't fulfilled my doing the best I can yet.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so-
So this
John-
was younger generations that you were trying
I was
to
just
get
going to
to?
say John
They
It's
were,
Bill's
they
brother
were about,
or his
our age.
family.
they were
Yeah.
mom and dad's
Okay, this was
age.
a long
Yeah,
time
it
ago
was-
you're talking
It
about.
was Granddaddy's nephews.
Mhm.
I
and
think
stuff.
I was a teenager then.
You can't get John and Carlene to get interested in that and do something about that to help you with that some way.
Well, it's done now.
Yeah, it's
they're
done?
here. Yeah,
It's
they're
done.
here. They live in.
They're here.
Live
They
in
live in
California.
And
oh.
they've raised their families, and they have children, and they're married, and their children are in college, and they did very
Yeah,
well.
Well, that is something.
Yeah, it is.
It is. That's an accomplishment.
It
It's
is
great.
quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because they said, I'd forget about it if I was you. And I said, but I promised him that I'd do my
Yeah.
best. And I'll never forget when they said I'd forget about it. I came in and I went back to the bedroom and I got on my knees and I said, okay, Lord, now where do I go from here? Because I promised Granddad I would do the best I can. Now what can I do? And that's where we went from there.
Well, that's great. That's special.
And they were
Really
in the Soviet Union then, or still
Yes,
part of
they
that?
were in the
Armenia
Soviet
was
Union.
part of the Soviet
That was
Union.
part of
then.
it.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah.
broken up into part Turkey and part Soviet Union and something
there was-
else, I
there
It
think,
was,
too.
they, were,
Soviet
they were
Union.
in Yerevan.
Yeah.
And so it didn't take us too long. It was months, but we finally got them. They didn't have to go to Cuba. They didn't have to go anywhere. They came straight to New York. And they called us from New York. They'd gotten off, and they were out in the street, and this man told them, he says, you're a long ways from Florida.
Yeah, I would say so. They probably didn't realize.
No, they just
No.
thought they'd come to
Once
America.
they were in the United States
It
or
was-
America, they thought they were
here.
had
Yeah.
No
arrived.
idea how big it was.
No,
Oh,
so this
my
man gave them directions how to go back and get on the airplane, go to the airport and get on the plane and come to Florida. come to Orlando.
I'm surprised they could do that. They get
They kept calling
have
us.
money and get
Well,
tickets and
we
get.
had got all
Oh.
that for them,
Uh-huh.
and they just, couldn't read, so they had to have people read for them.
Oh no, yeah.
So, well, the people were honest with them, and that was good. And I guess God was leading them along.
I guess so, because of your prayers.
And they arrived here, and it was absolutely
amazing.
wonderful having them. But Granddaddy had already died, a few years before.
Well, that's all right. He knows.
Yeah.
He's looking down from heaven
But
and
he
he
knows
saw.
that I did the best I could.
Yes, right.
But I couldn't do it in time for him to see him. And I continued after he died. And,
Well, you have the consolation knowing you did right anyway. You did the right thing. You got it
and-
finally worked
and,
out.
And Billy and I went over to visit him.
They moved to.
Oh,
They
they
lived
moved to
here for a
Cal-
little while, and then
and
they
stayed
moved
here
to
for a little
California
while.
because they had
Uh-huh.
people.
They had
California
some
that they were.
others.
So that's where they are
Friends,
now.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
over
it was
there.
like an Armenian community
Mhm.
there.
And they promised us, though, that because I took them to school every night during the week to learn
To
speak
learn the English
to
language.
speak. And then all day long, anytime anybody, all of us, when they picked up anything, we told them what it was. Over and over and over, like a fork. This is a fork. This is a fork. This is a fork.
So that's how they learned.
That's how they learned. And when they got to California, the folks over there wanted to know, where out in the world over there did you learn so much English? How did you? And they told them we didn't know a word by the when we got here. So
Oh.
Gladys took us every night to school, and so they got started on the right feet,
They
and
did.
then
They
we
got
gave
started.
them a lot of,
Thanks to you.
and we
That's
gave
great.
them a lot of housewares and things like that when they got ready to go. We helped them pack up their, with stuff that,
Yeah.
that they could, like fabrics and stuff like that, even
Yeah.
that she could use,
Yeah.
because they sewed
They
very
can probably
beautifully.
sew and
And
do that and
we
make
gave
things.
them all kinds of stuff,
Mhm.
fans and things that they,
Oh, sure.
pots and pans and stuff like that they would need.
Okay, we're just about almost out of time.
Okay, so
And once again, I want to say thank you so much, both of you, for giving us such a great interview today. And we'll put it in with everything else, and we'll hope to get you a copy of it so
okay,
you can see how it looked. And we'll get that to you sometime whenever we can. Her husband is very good when her husband does the processing for us. And so I do the interviews, she does the camera work, and then we're kind of a team, and we work it out together. So eventually you'll get a copy of it.
well,
Thank
I
you.
hope
Today's
you'll bring
interview.
it.
All right. Thank